WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today on the program, the 2024 Mackinac Policy Conference is about a week away. We'll learn about the purpose of the conference and why it matters here on the mainland.
But first, on the Metro, Detroit's Movement Festival is more than just a music event. It's a celebration of a genre that transformed the global music landscape, born right here in Detroit. Originally known as the Detroit Electronic Music Festival, like the roots of techno itself, Movement has been intertwined in the city's rich cultural landscape, echoing the sounds and spirit of Detroit's 1980s nightlife. One person who embodies this legacy is Jammin Collins. As a pivotal figure in Detroit's techno scene, from his work as a DJ in clubs and on the radio to remixing and creating records of his own with groups like Underground Resistance, John has not only witnessed but also helped shape the evolution in electronic music here in the city. And this weekend, John will continue this legacy when he performs at Movement on Monday, May 27th at 5:30 p.m. To learn more about his contributions to Detroit's music scene and the festival itself, he joins us now. John, welcome to the Metro.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Always great to speak with you, especially because you've covered so many different areas in the world of music. And I want to dive into all of that because you have a really interesting story. But before we get into your work in electronic music, how did you even decide to get started DJing all the way back when?
Well, being a DJ was never a career goal for me. I kind of fell into it, as I like to explain. My background is in science. I majored in biology at college, Wilberforce University, the nation's first black college. And my first job out of college was at the Michigan Cancer Foundation in the Department of Epidemiology. And I wanted to get another job because I wasn't making enough money. So I went to a club, saw a young lady DJing. I'm like, this would be a fun way to make money. So I'm like, my goal was to do it for 5 years, and I was out. That was it.
Yeah.
But one thing happened after another, and before long, I'm DJing at the popular clubs in Detroit, playing on the radio, WJLB back in the day.
Yeah, and what year are you talking about with this start?
This is 90s something or another, yeah.
Yeah. But when you got your start, when you saw that young woman DJing, what year was that?
Oh, that was late 80s.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't consider that really DJing because I was just playing records. Because it wasn't a passion for me then. It was just a means to make some extra money. So I had I wanted to be a doctor. That was my goal. And I still love science, so that's how I got started. So as my mom said, God had other plans. Yeah. For me.
Well, I mean, you're a doctor of music right now,
Absolutely.
Some could say, right? And
Absolutely.
We'll get into a little bit maybe how science informs the way that you create music. Mm-hmm. But something you said to me just struck me. You said, when I started out, I was just playing records. I wasn't quite yet a DJ.
Right.
What's the distinction for you, and where did you notice that crossover?
Well, I come from a musical family, first of all. Of course, I sang in the choir at church and school and all that type of thing, played instruments, cornet, flute. But it was just a job. I was just putting records on, not necessarily mixing, but eventually it became more important to me, and I began to appreciate the music, how it came together, how it made people feel, and I think that was a turning point for me, and I apparently became very good at it because people started to hire me for more parties. So.
That's a transition upward. For folks who maybe didn't experience it, now we're into this late 80s, transitioning in the 90s. Mm-hmm. What was the club scene like in the places that you were DJing? What was it like for you in Detroit?
I was just talking to Jeff Mills this morning before I came here, and we were talking about the same thing. What was Detroit like before techno? Mm-hmm. And there were clubs everywhere. I mean, you could go to like 4 and 5 clubs in a night. So the nightlife in Detroit has always been, there's prominent nightlife in Detroit. So it was just as good. I think it might have been better than what it is now. But so it was, like I said, it was very vibrant, lots of clubs, lots of parties, lot of different genres, R&B, more progressive parties with progressive music. You can find any type of genre of music in clubs in Detroit. So,
which I think is beautiful. And it makes me think about, I'm looking at your background when you get started out DJing and being a working DJ in Detroit. At that time, you would be in various places, big clubs, DJing for the Detroit Pistons, for example, Bad Boy Pistons, DJing all these different genres, like you mentioned. But I think a lot of people, when they think of John Jammin Collins, they think of electronic music, even though you were DJing other things.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to know from you is, as a DJ, how much of it is I'm playing what I want the people to hear versus how much of it is trying to read the crowd, maybe mix genres, maybe different groups like different stuff, and trying to track what that is? How do you balance that?
Well, it's all about connecting with the crowd and not necessarily playing what you want to play. Now, you may have an idea of what you want to program, but for me, my job is to take the crowd on a musical journey. So I connect with the crowd. Like you can feel the energy coming from them to me, and it goes right back out to the crowd. It even gets to the point where, based on what you're playing, the energy of the crowd, they can almost point you in the direction of what you should play next. You get the feeling, let me play this. And it takes them higher and higher and higher. So that's what I do. If you don't have that connection, you're not a DJ.
It's important. It's that
you
feedback.
have to.
The ability to see the crowd in the moment.
Yes.
It's even kind of like playing a musical instrument. As we're speaking with John Jammin Collins, longtime DJ and producer from Detroit. John, Jammin is a heck of a nickname. I mean, just a big fan of Bob Marley. I thought Jammin was a thing of the past, or where did this nickname come from?
Actually, WJLB, Chris Campbell. I'm sorry, Chris Campbell.
Chris Campbell's one of our own. We love him.
Chris McClendon was on WJLB. When I got the job with JLB, he gave me the name John Jammin Collins.
Yeah. And so one of the other things that we mentioned, of course, is the connection with underground resistance, which means so much to folks, especially here in Detroit, the importance that they had in the collective had in the electronic music scene, as well as protest movements and things. And you got involved with that. But you're coming from the background of a DJ, where I think of a lot of these folks as just producers that started out creating electronic music. Go ahead.
Well, they're producers and DJs.
That's right.
Let's take Jeff Mills, for instance, was a DJ before he started producing and before he founded Underground Resistance with Mike Banks.
That is absolutely accurate. But
Yes.
what I was wondering is, when you have a guy like Mike Banks, who I think of in terms of creating music from maybe a little bit different of a perspective than someone like you, who has been through all of these different genres, because so much more of your start was as a DJ, right? You weren't even necessarily planning to become a producer of music. So what was that transition like for you? How'd you end up at Submerge, and how did your background?
See, I have done so many things in music. I was also a booking agent.
Yeah.
So I booked everybody who's anybody out of Detroit around the world. Underground Resistance was on my roster. So that's how I met Mike Banks, actually, at a music conference that I founded several years ago called the Detroit Regional Music Conference. Underground Resistance was one of our sponsors, and I met Mike Banks back then. So I booked all of UR all around the world. So that's how we became friends. And when my partner, Joyce Santiago, decided she wanted to sell real estate, I kept the company and changed the name and ended up moving in an office at Submerge. Now, I'm still a DJ, but I wasn't a UR DJ. That came later.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's coming up pretty soon, again, is your set at the Movement, which is going to be pretty awesome for folks who haven't had it, especially if they've had a chance to experience your music, and even those who haven't. It's this kind of gateway thing that I think we can hear about and experience. For you, what does Movement, how have you seen the festival, for example, from the history of when it started out and your interactions there to where it is now? Can you just tell listeners a little bit about how that's been?
I've been around since it started.
Right.
So,
2000.
It was free.
Yeah.
It was free for 5-6 years. So that's a big big difference. And nowadays a lot of people can't afford to attend because it is very expensive. And the festival is good. I mean, it brings a lot of money into Detroit, millions of dollars. It's one of the biggest festivals in the world. Programming, as an international festival, you have to bring in people from other countries. I understand that as well. But I think also a lot of people come to Detroit because they want to hear Detroit artists. They're doing a pretty good job at programming more Detroit artists.
All right, and you're one of those with those links. What is it about Detroit artists for you, and how it informs the music that we hear in electronic music? What's that different special sauce that people can listen out for?
Well, first of all, it came from us, so that's very important. So to get authentic techno or house music, it's different coming from black people in Detroit versus maybe Europeans from another country. We have authentic techno music because we were first. So that's very, very important. A lot of people appreciate that, and that's what we want to show the rest of the world.
What's the way that we continue this development of electronic music right here in Detroit? You've got artists who are coming up and doing it, but you did mention that there's something different about it here. What role do you play in that, and what recommendations would you have for people who are trying to keep it moving forward?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good up-and-coming DJs in Detroit, men, women. Of course, there's a lot more women in the field now because it was once dominated by men, all men. Kelly Hand passed away recently, a couple years ago. She was the first black female techno DJ in the world. When she first started, they wouldn't hire her because she was a woman. So it's come a long way. Young producers, men, women, really, really, really good. And we mentor a number of young people at Underground Resistance, and we provide studios for them to learn. We coach them, we teach them the ropes of producing. Some of them are really, really good. So I see techno getting bigger and bigger, and I think that it's music that's here to stay, just like Motown. Motown's been around for, 50, 60 years now? It's not going anywhere. And techno's the same. Yeah.
Last question for you before we let you go, so you can get prepared for your set, I'm sure, this weekend. But for folks who haven't had it
today,
I'm kidding. But for folks who are thinking about coming down there, maybe haven't enjoyed electronic music before, what recommendations would you have for them getting into the genre?
Of getting into the genre?
Yeah, electronic music. Now's an opportunity for you to see what it's really like.
Well, they just need to come. They need to come.
Just come.
Come to the festival, and there are many after parties.
Yeah.
Going on as well. I'm paying like 4 after parties as well. So I'm tired already. It's not even, All right. But so it's going to be good.
All right, we'll let you rest there. John Collins, longtime DJ and producer from Detroit, performing at Movement on Monday, May 27th at 5:30. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thanks for having me.
Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I just listening to that conversation. I think about some of my favorite female DJs right now. Tammy Lackis, love her right now. Black Moonchild, love her right now. So if you are interested in electronic music, definitely go to some of those after parties if you can't make it to Movement. But coming up on the Metro, we'll talk about an architecture summer camp happening this summer in Detroit and Kalamazoo for young people. So you stay right there.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at the University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new Master of Science degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. Admission is open to qualified applicants with a bachelor's degree in any field. Course selection is flexible, with no prerequisites, 4 required courses, and 6 electives. Learn more at business.udmercy.edu.
Hi, it's Terry Gross, the host of Fresh Air. We bring you in-depth, long-form interviews with actors, directors, musicians, authors, journalists, and more. Listen to our Peabody Award-winning Fresh Air podcast from WHYY and NPR.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. Right now, don't forget it's going to be warm today. So right now it's 73 degrees. We're going to see a high around 90. We may see scattered thunderstorms as well. Just wanted to keep throwing it out there. It's going to be a warm one out there. However, there's one thing that we've established about the Metro. All of us collectively love talking about buildings and the way they're designed and their purpose or whether they should fit in a particular area. We just love discussing that. And that's why we're excited to hear that the Detroit chapter of National Organization of Minority Architects is hosting a Project Pipeline Summer Camp. The program is meant to upgrade the architectural skills of over 200 Metro Detroit students. Now in its 10th year, the camp is recruiting another cohort of eager students ready to learn about architecture and related careers. Camps are being offered this summer in Kalamazoo and Detroit, and applications for the free program, they end May 31st. To talk about the camp now and the field of architecture, we have Kendal Bowman here. Kendal, welcome to the show.
How you doing? How's it going?
It's going well. It's a beautiful day out there once again. Watch out for that heat. Are you from the city of Detroit?
I am actually from Pontiac, Michigan, so
right.
about short drive up the road.
Native to Michigan anyway, so
Yes, indeed.
I love that. The Project Pipeline Summer Camp, it's a national camp, but you guys are doing it here in the city of Detroit. Why is it so unique to do it here?
Well, first and foremost, there's camps that are all throughout the United States, but here in Detroit, we've always found that there is a need for the camp. Myself, I didn't know what an architect was when I was going to college.
Yeah.
I kind of fell into the profession. I loved to draw. I loved Legos, Connects, things of that nature when I was a kid. And we just find it to be important to expose kids to a profession that not everybody knows about. I think it would have been a lot more helpful for me to know what an architect does in my personal life earlier on. So why not have a camp here in Detroit and also Kalamazoo? Shout out to Kalamazoo.
Kazoo.
Yeah. So yeah, we hold a camp and we've been holding it for about 10 years now.
Which is spectacular. I think about what you just said, just bringing it to my head. When I was younger, I loved Legos and I loved drawing.
Exactly.
But I had no idea that could turn into a career.
You don't know what you can do with it.
Yeah. So just hearing that, what would you say, especially to educators and those who are around young people right now who are like literally obsessed with Legos and drawing and just being creative, putting things together? How would you help gear them towards these career fields?
Well, first and foremost, we have a Project Pipeline camp.
Boom.
Boom. So what we're doing with this camp, it's for middle school and high school students. What we're doing is we expose them to what an architect is, what an architect does, how we engage with the community, and what these buildings that you see on a daily basis, how do they get put together? So what we end up doing, we give these students, our cohort, a design challenge. We give them a site, we give them a need that needs to be fulfilled design-wise. We take our mentors, we break them off into groups, and we take them through the design process. So we're teaching them everything from what is a scale? How do you use a scale? How do you draw a building? We're taking them through the whole process of what it is to be an architect. At the end of it, they do a presentation, because a presentation of your ideas is the final thing of architecture, or at least in architecture school. They do their presentation. They have a critique. We have mentors and professionals come in to talk about their designs, and we pick winners. We give some awards at the end of the camp, and it's a really good time.
And, you talked about, you yourself finding, just kind of stumbling into the career.
Absolutely.
What did that look like when you're stumbling into the career?
It was very awkward. Let's just say that. So like I said, I was in college. I started in college. I knew I liked to draw. I took 2 architecture classes back to back, and nobody really knows, but your introductory classes are 4 hours long usually. So one was a basic design and graphic communications. I was in the same room. And I was drawing for 8 hours roughly. Yeah. Started in the morning, and by the end of the day, the sun's down, but I had no problem with it. It was it was the easiest thing for me to do. And when there's something that easy for me or for anybody to do, I think it's something that you should probably explore. So I started to explore a little bit further. One of my peer advisors, Mashanta, you're in California, you can't hear this, but I'm shouting you out. She was applying to the architecture school, so I kind of tagged along and she showed me the way. And that's kind of one of my first mentors in architecture. So that's how I got introduced to architecture.
Yeah, and then afterwards you said someone helped me, so now I'm going to help just as many people as I can.
As many people as you can. You bring along the next group.
So I think about, of course, the city of Detroit. We are speaking with Kendal Bowman, the president of the Detroit president of the National Organization of Minority Architects. I think about you talking just a little bit about the kids, of course, being from the city of Detroit and Pontiac and Kalamazoo, just so many different spaces and places, especially in the city of Detroit right now. We're seeing just infrastructure going up everywhere. We're seeing construction projects all the time.
Absolutely.
And I hear this project, the pipeline project, and I think about teaching students and teaching young people to help create in their own communities.
Absolutely.
Talk about that importance there of allowing them that skill set.
I'll start from just a personal experience. Going through this profession, I've gone many different places. I didn't always stay here. I went to Chicago. I was out in Abu Dhabi for a while. I ended up coming home.
Yeah.
And the impact that I found that I can really make is in my hometown. And I want to be able to influence some students or someone to see that you don't have to be like the biggest architect in the world to make an impact. Your hometown or where you're from, that's where you're going to make the impact. It's not always the person who is well known that's making the most impact. It can be that little guy that's making that impact. You're going to make a change with the work that you do. So that's another thing that I want to impress and impose upon kids and students when they come to the camp, that hey, architecture is for everybody, but it starts in your community of making that impact and that change.
Honestly, my brain went to a children's book, A for architecture, A for everybody. So that was great. So before I let you go, Kendal, I'll just get into it one more time where people can find out more about the program, the summer camp, as well applications.
Absolutely. So what you want to do is go to your nearest phone, go to your nearest computer, go to www.noma, Detroit.org/project-pipeline. And there you'll find everything that you need, from applications, volunteering, and even if you're looking to sponsor a student, you can sponsor students. We're always looking for sponsor partners.
Awesome. Kendal Bowman is the Detroit president of National Organization of Minority Architects. Bowman joined us on the Metro to chat about summer camps in architecture and the importance of diversity within architecture. Applications for the Project Pipeline Summer Camp remain open through May 31st for students ages 14 to 18.
Yes.
For more information, you can go on over to nomadetroit.org. Kendal, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Tia.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET, and coming up, we'll hear about a new report that highlights the benefits of cycling.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. Right now it's partly sunny, humid with scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. Highs near 90. It's 73 degrees. And Nick, the next conversation, I don't think you don't want to be on a bike for this.
I don't want to be on the bike.
Not for this weather.
Well, it is pretty hot out there, but that does mean some are getting on that bike and getting out there and biking. And a new study finds that that's a good thing, because biking can reduce knee pain and extend life expectancy. NPR's Allison Aubrey looked into the story.
Given the choice between a car or a bike, Brooks Bolick says that's an easy decision.
Traffic in D.C. stinks. So in my 20s, I got attracted to cycling.
And his bike became his source of transportation.
I worked for The Hollywood Reporter. I was their man in Washington, and I commuted from our house. We lived in Silver Spring at the time, and so I would commute downtown to just get to work.
The half-hour ride put him in a good mood. Now at age 65, he's mostly retired, and he's still an avid cyclist.
The endorphins is the best high ever. And the other thing about it is just the long-term health effects. My doctor says he wishes every patient he has 65 years old had my cardiovascular profile.
In addition to a healthy heart, he says his joints are in good shape too. And his story fits with the finding of a new study of people his age. Researcher Grace Lowe of Baylor College of Medicine studied about 2,600 men and women, mostly in their 60s. X-rays showed those who reported biking consistently as one of their top activities had less arthritis in their knees and reported less knee pain.
I was surprised to see how very strong the benefit was. We saw this very dramatic association, which was kind of amazing.
Amazing because the people in the study were not competitive athletes. In fact, most of them were average 65-year-olds at elevated risk of knee arthritis due to their weight, family history, or prior injury. So Lowe says it goes to show even recreational biking or riding a stationary bike can be beneficial.
There's good data to support that people live longer when they bicycle. And so this can be exercise that they can participate in over a lifetime. And I think that is really a great preventative strategy for many things, including arthritis.
Cycling puts less stress on the knee joints compared to other types of exercise, such as running. Cycling also helps build muscle strength around the knee, which also helps protect the joints. Matt Harkey is a musculoskeletal researcher at Michigan State University and a co-author of the study. He says there's likely another benefit, too, moving protective joint fluid around the knee.
The kind of rhythmic motion of cycling, what it does is help to circulate the synovial fluid throughout the joint to help to kind of lubricate and provide kind of nutrient delivery to the cartilage.
Of course, bikers do need to be aware of risks on their road to avoid injury. Still, biking enthusiast Brooks Bolick says cycling gives him joy.
It makes you feel alive, and it keeps you living longer. And I'm very goal-oriented, so that gives me something to do. It gives me something to concentrate on, something to live for.
A sense of purpose that helps keep his heart pumping and his muscles strong.
That was NPR's Allison Aubrey examining the benefits of cycling, as this is 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin alongside Tia Graham. And Tia, have you gotten the old bike out this spring?
I love this story so much. I have not. I don't even own a bike. However, I need to start biking to reduce my knee pain. And now that I have heard this story, I heard from that gentleman who definitely shamed me a little bit there. Oh. I should probably get on the bike. He let me know.
I mean, I didn't hear him say Tia anywhere in that, or it was directed at you.
I felt the spotlight, though. I felt the spotlight.
A little bit of unintentional shrapnel on the side. We can see how that would work. But look, if it ends up with the positives of you getting the bike, I think it'll be okay.
I think it'll be okay. Do you own a bike?
Yes.
You know, you look like you own a bike. Do you ride it?
I have ridden it in the past.
That's the question. Do you actively ride that bike? It's okay. We will ride bikes this summer for sure once I actually get one. But you are listening to the Metro right now. 73 degrees. Don't forget it's going to be a high of 90 degrees. And speaking of the weather and everything that's happening, the 2024 Mackinac Policy Conference is about a week away. You're on an island up there.
Yeah. And let me interject really quickly for you on Mackinac. They don't allow cars up there, right? So the bike will help you out very much if you're in the world of Mackinac.
You're going, though. Are you going to bring your bike?
No, it can't fit in the vehicle with all these people we got to haul up there. Unless we make producer Sam Corey, who's very key to what we do on the show, but maybe not so key. I could swap out Sam for the bike. He could produce remotely. You know what? We'll think about that. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, just get on the bike. But like we said, it's the 2024 Mackinac Policy Conference. It is a week away, and that means that a lot of Michigan's political establishment is preparing itself to go up to the island to cut deals and move their projects forward. WDET and our station's political podcast, Mishmash, are preparing to go there as well. In preparation for the conference, Mishmash host Shayna Roth and Gonward News Service's Zach Gorchild dived into what happens on Mackinac and why it matters back here on the mainland. They began this conversation with Brad Williams, the Detroit Regional Chamber's Vice President of Government Relations, discussing the conference's purpose.
What, in your mind, is the point of the Mackinac Policy Conference? Number one, why Mackinac Island?
Well, I mean, the best part about Mackinac Island is that you can't get away from each other, right? And I think that is the point, right? All of Michigan's movers and shakers, whether they be business leaders, academic leaders, philanthropic leaders, or government leaders, are on an island together for 3 days in the middle of Lake Huron. And the proximity and the geography really lend themselves to a level of conversation that we just can't have back home. And we all understand how this happens. You know, it's easy to say, I'm really going to focus on networking, but life gets in the way, whether it's a meeting back at the office or our kids' soccer game. We always tend to take our meetings, well, I can do this on Teams, or I can skip this networking reception. But when you're on an island, these conversations happen. I had a conversation just a few years ago. I had some colleagues from the Atlanta Chamber who wanted to see how we did this. And Congressman Bill Huizenga was there, and he mentioned how oftentimes he will connect through Detroit when he's flying to Washington so he can do some meetings with stakeholders in Detroit. But he mentioned he gets more done with Detroit stakeholders in one day at the Mackinac Policy Conference than he can in 1 year of those types of meetings. So I think that is the magic. That's why we do it, and that's why it's always successful.
So this conference has been taking place for many, many, many years. In your time involved with it, which is quite a while now, what would you say has been its greatest policy success to date?
Well, oh man, that is a hard one to answer, Zach. I think, you know, when I think back over the 16 years I've been involved with this, and I'm thinking back just today, some news that broke. Just today, it came out that Detroit increased its population 0.3% this year. It's not a lot, but it's something. And I think back to just a decade ago, a little bit over a decade ago, when we were in the throes of bankruptcy, and we were working on the grand bargain in that hotel, trying to get the bankruptcy solved, get the $300 million from the state to get the bankruptcy solved. I think you can't look at the success of the conference without looking at the success of Detroit's comeback. As we were sitting in the chamber offices with the chamber executive committee, overlooking the NFL draft just a few weeks ago, and seeing the difference between where we hosted the NFL in 2006 versus how we hosted the NFL in 2024, where we didn't have to paper over windows to hide our vacant buildings. We were showing Detroit as it is, and we're growing. That to me is the success of Mackinac as a policy generator.
Last year, one of the big highlights was the governor appointing the Growing Michigan Together Council, which is the latest attempt to figure out how to reverse 50 years of population stagnation in Michigan. The council issued its report in December, but it doesn't feel like a lot of actual policy has come out of it. I mean, I know Detroit has increased its population, but we're not really seeing a lot of actual, here's what we can do. Where do you think Michigan stands on attracting talented people to the state?
Well, I think it's, it is a work in progress, and, I won't speak for the governor as to what her investment is in the outcomes, but let's not forget that, this year in the budget, there was a significant proposal on universal community college. And that's something that, we at the chamber think is a worthwhile project. And, the Senate has put together a proposal that I think is, reflective of that conversation. So, let's not forget that's a pretty big step forward as far as increasing Michigan's talent pool. And what that council did, it bit off a pretty big bite from a policy perspective. So to ask the legislature to do all of that in year one, is a pretty big ask. If we can get this community college proposal over the line this year, I think that's a pretty big win. So let's take this as it goes.
That was Mishmash host Shana Roth and Gonward News Services' Zach Gorchild speaking about the Mackinac Policy Conference. You can find episodes of Mishmash on WDET.org or wherever you find your podcasts. This is The Metro. This is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham. Nick Austin is here as well. And as we just heard in the previous conversation, for the first time since the 1950s, Detroit's population increased. The U.S. Census Bureau recently found that Detroit gained over 1,800 residents in 2022, bringing the total population to more than 633,000. In this conversation, WDET's Brianna Tinsley spoke with Wayne State University urban studies professor Jeff Horner about what these numbers mean.
What I like to tell my students is, yes, Detroit continued to lose population ever since the 1950s, but maybe always trying to say something positive. At least the population were slowing down in the percentage losses over time. And the census estimates are obviously huge news because we have reversed those losses. That's not to say that we're definitely it's certain that we're ever going to move up to where we were before in 1950. But the fact is, it looks as if Detroit, in terms of population loss, has hit bottom and is now moving up.
Multiple times, Duggan's administration has sued the Census Bureau because they felt the methodology used put Detroit at a disadvantage and resulted in inaccurate counts. Do you think this uptick is a result of those multiple challenges?
If you're a big city mayor, you've got every right to ask for a recount or to ask for an adjustment. It's your right to appeal, and I'm certainly glad that Mayor Duggan has done so to get the reversal of this decline. Something I'd like to see, and I haven't had a chance to research it yet, is what the population estimates are of other legacy industrial cities such as Cleveland and St. Louis and a lot of cities that frankly are in the same boat as Detroit, and to see if that trend is also a nationwide trend or if this is just local. But overall, as a longtime resident of the area, I'm gobsmacked every time I go out to a part of the city I haven't been in a while. And it's not that I see more people on the street, but I see a lot more retail activity going on. I see storefronts that weren't there a couple of years ago. If that commercial activity is taking off, and everyone reads about the restaurants downtown, and that's all the free press and the news cover. But boy, get out on 6 Mile. Get out in the 6 Mile Livernois area. It's like night and day out there, and that's the community coming back. You bring the community back, you bring back retail, you bring back streetlights. That's going to attract people. There's no question.
For sure. I mean, I just had that experience myself. I was in a neighborhood that I lived in about 10 years ago, and it looks completely different in just 10 years.
Right. I mean, I'm in my 60s, and it's just crazy. And I'm not talking about the downtown, and that's all well and good, but stuff is happening in the neighborhoods now, which is absolutely terrific.
Yeah. You're talking about getting more retail in there, getting things in the city that people actually want in their neighborhoods. Do you see us probably reaching that million mark anytime soon? Or do you think that, I know 1,800 is a small number, but it is an increase. Do you see that us on a trajectory to potentially get back up there?
Well, Brianna, the potential is always there. But probably not in my lifetime. I turn 63 next week. And that's not a failing of Detroit. As I tell my students, it's really a failing of urban metropolitan policy, which continues to subsidize development further and further out. So my point is that part of Detroit's decline certainly is related to the loss of industry and so forth, but it's also directly related to state policies and federal policies, for that matter, that encourage development further and further out. And until there's something done on a regional basis in Southeast Michigan that allows more concentrated development, Detroit is going to be challenged to get back to 1 million. I'm not saying it can't be done, but we'll have to see. There's only so much that large cities like Detroit and Cleveland and St. Louis and Newark can do because of what federal urban subsidies are for metropolitan areas.
That was Dr. Jeff Horner, a professor with the Department of Urban Studies at Wayne State University. He spoke with WDET's Brianna Tinsley. This is The Metro.
It is the Metro on 1019 WDET, and with Detroit being the center of the electronic music universe this weekend, we'll take a look at other events that are happening for you to scratch that itch as the Metro continues in just a moment.
This is The Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Nick Austin. And as we've discussed earlier, Detroit's going to be the center of the music world this weekend, specifically in the realm of techno, with the Movement Music Festival showcasing some of the finest talents in electronic music. It's got a rich history of bringing together fans not only from around the globe to celebrate what we do here in Detroit, but also for us right here at home, though for some of us, it might be a little difficult to get a ticket. And even if that's the case, there are still other ways you can scratch the itch. And one of those alternatives is the Detroit Diaspora Day Party, which aims to complement movement by providing another way for folks to enjoy electronic music, celebrating our strong connections and Detroit's importance in the genre. And to learn more about it, we've got two of the figures helping make the event happen. Starting off with Drake Pfeiffer, who's the founder of the Detroit Diaspora Day Party, as well as a promoter of urban arts and culture as founder of Urban Organic. Drake, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nick, for having us.
Yeah, and we're also here with Divinity, a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter and now DJ who will perform at this year's event. Divinity, welcome.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me.
I feel a little jealous. I got to see you DJing if I don't get to hear those powerful vocals, but table that. We'll get to that in just a moment. Drake, let's start with you.
Yes.
Detroit Diaspora Day Party. Why this name? Why this event?
You know, Nick, one of the reasons that we started doing Detroit Diaspora parties in 2016, not around Memorial Day, but just in general, was because we recognized that lots of Detroiters return home for holidays, and that we have probably out of, all the major cities in the United States, we probably have a diaspora larger than anyone. I mean, we pollinate the globe nationally, globally, with people who are from Detroit, creatives in particular, who are doing an assortment of things around the world. And this is our way of inviting them back into the fold to commune with other creatives who are still homebound, as well as those who might be considering coming to Detroit. We see that we just got the news that Detroit is growing, and we like to think that we have had a little bit of part of that in helping to make Detroit cool, and that's why we have this party.
It's interesting when I juxtapose that to or compare it to your work with Urban Organic, which was great. A lot of neo-soul artists. You did a lot of helping bring national acts to Detroit, but this sounds to me a little bit like kind of a reversal, right? Bringing some of Detroiters who might not be here anymore, as well as local Detroiters, and spreading that out to others. When it comes to this distinction, what have you seen in terms, why move from R&B to electronic music?
Well, it really is a continuation. It's on a continuum. It is still an Urban Organic production. Urban Organic is my events company that I've been fortunate enough to have operated over the last close to 24 years. But in my estimation, folks are, we love live music. Our live music is wonderful, and Detroit is going to always be a hotbed for live music. But we have so many wonderful DJs that are not only here, but dispersed around the country and around the world again, that I just think offers an interesting experience for them to come back home and play.
Yeah, and one of those DJs you're going to tap is sitting right in here next to us, Divinity. Again, love the vocals, but you're DJing now. Can you tell us what caused you to move from or add this to your repertoire to become a DJ?
I think it was just a natural expansion. It's just another way to involve myself and share the music. So I've always wanted to DJ. I've been hearing mixes in my head for many, many years. So it's really cool to get a chance to play and share different kinds of music that I love and expose people to different kinds of energy through the music.
So when you approach a set like you're going to for this event, because this isn't the first time you've done it, right? You've got experience doing it now. How does your approach change, if at all, from being a vocalist on stage, live performing, to spinning records from others and perhaps even your own?
Yeah, well, it does give me a chance to share some of my music for sure, but it gives me a chance to share some of the other music that I love and that I listen to that I feel that other people may not be exposed to. So I'm preparing for this set the way I do for all of my sets. I'm listening to things that are quality. I'm listening to things that are different and things that are, of course, going to keep the dance floor moving too.
Right on. Are we ever going to get a chance then where you're going to start singing and DJing at the same time? Is that too much? Does that mean you got to get double the pay? Like, how do we balance this out?
Double the pay, yes. Double the pay, yes to that.
See, Nick,
I could be an agent too,
Thank
right?
you so much. I'll get your email after this. So I don't know if that's something I will do or not. If it feels natural, perhaps, but if it doesn't, I'm not going to force it.
Yeah. And, we did mention that you're going to be performing as a DJ, but DJing's not the only things that are happening at this event. Drake, looping you back in, can you tell us what people can expect from this Sunday event, some of the events that are happening?
We kick off. We have a pre-event that starts at 10 a.m. It's called Buy Back the Block. It's actually sponsored by Detroit Future City, and it will have the husband and wife team, Richie and Clorinda Harris, leading a discussion on equitable redevelopment of the city, and it will include some really strong individuals. Chase Cantrell of Building Better Value. It will include Darnell Adams of the Family Gilbert Foundation, and Fabiola Flavernell from Miami, who is actually developing here in Detroit. So, we're going to have a bunch of people in there that are really steeped in this movement, this ecosystem, this development ecosystem. That starts it off. That's the bed of the event. Then we get right to the music. The music starts at noon, and the music goes from noon until 10. And we're, again, excited to have Divinity on again, and we also are excited to have our recently appointed poet laureate, Jessica Caremore, making her debut as DJ Jay Sicka. But no, she said don't call her DJ Jay Sicka. It's
You've
just
already
Jay
ruined
Sicka.
that.
I messed it up. Yeah. So it's just Jay Sicka.
Okay.
And we have a whole host of other. We have, Vernon English. We have DJ Afy.
Yeah.
We have Ramon Rosso, who does the Atlanta House in the Park. So we got a bevy of folks that are going to really just be, super fly on that day. We have a diasporic marketplace where it was hugely successful last year. We're going to have a bunch of vendors that people love, food trucks, art. We're going to be featuring the art of Kresge Eminent Arts Award. We got
a lot. We got a website. We'll tell them about it. Before we close out, though, what's the website?
The website is urban-organic.net.
All right.
And if they want to go on to Eventbrite and look up Detroit Diaspora, they can find it that way as well.
Cool. Divinity, got like 30 seconds before I just tell me, what are you most looking forward to from the event?
Community, love, music.
It's like 10 seconds. You're a pro, Divinity. You're a performer. That's why you can come on anytime onto the show. I appreciate that. All right. You got any music that's popping up, though? What are you working for personally?
I need to come back and talk about my album. It's almost a year to the date that
What's
it was
the name of the
released.
album? How can people find it?
In Due Time. You can find it on Apple Music, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you find quality music.
Well, Divinity, in due time, we will have you back on to discuss that. But Divinity, as well as Drake Pfeiffer, two of the DJs, because you're going to be DJing as well, Drake,
that's right,
at the Detroit Diaspora event that's happening. Thank you guys both so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Nick.
That's going to do it for the Metro for Monday, May 20th. You can listen to the recent episodes online at WDET.org.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt. Our engineer is Nate Bender. Our assistant producers are Neil Scott and Sydney Walkley.
This is 1019 WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation, a production of WDET, listener-supported service of Wayne State University. If you like what you hear and want to support the Metro, consider becoming a member at WDET.org/donate.
Thank you so much for listening. You all have a great day.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.